Good afternoon, Nagraj sir.
Hi, good afternoon, ma'am. If you
Audible, sir?
good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Yeah. Does it take some more time to?
Yes. Just 2-3 minutes, sir.
Yeah, please. So I guess this is the mandate workshop that you're doing for IIC, right? Hello, ma'am. You're there, Dr. Shanti?
Sir, I'm here.
Yeah, I was just asking. So, is this the mandate workshops that have to be done for the IIC?
Yes, sir.
So you're the in charge of the IIC, right?
Yes. I'm the member, sir. I'm not in charge.
Okay.
I'm the member from
Okay. How
my
many?
electrical department.
First year? Is it the first year you're forming the IIC?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the audience are students or faculty?
Students and faculty, sir. Both.
Both. Okay.
வந்துதா
Shanti ma'am. Vijay Shanti ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, madam. Shall we start, madam?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My dear faculty members, dear students, I welcome you all for this one-day workshop on paper writing and research methodologies. And it's our privilege to have Dr. Samala Nagaraj Garu as a speaker for today's program. I welcome you, sir, on behalf of CMRCET, AAA Department, and CIE, Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Actually, this program is intended to give an insight to our faculty and students on the research methodologies and how to project their idea in the form of a paper. I think students will gain knowledge on the research methodologies and paper writing techniques. I welcome everyone to this workshop, and I request Mr. Sanjeev to give a brief introduction about today's speaker. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Sanjeev,
ma'am.
sir.
Yes, ma'am,
Yeah.
I am there. Yeah. Very good afternoon to the respected speaker for the today, HODs, doctorates, professors, and all the faculty and the student fraternity. It gives me an immense pride, and I feel privileged for giving me the opportunity to introduce our honorable guest speaker for the today, Dr. Samala Nagaraj Garu. He holds a PhD degree in marketing from University of Hyderabad. He has an experience of over 17 years with 12 years in teaching and 5 years in research. He is presently working as an associate professor in Woxen School of Business. He is also heading the Research and Development Center at Woxen University. He is an expert in handling subjects related to marketing and business analytics using SPSS, Python, and Tableau. He has been awarded UGC NET JRF in 2012. He has presented papers in conferences like IIM Ahmedabad, Shillong, Great Lakes, etc. He has several papers published in reputed international journal, indexed in Scopus, ABDC, A, B, C, and SSCI. He is an editor and reviewer for many Scopus and ABDC indexed journals. His area of interest for research includes customer engagements, customer experience, transformative service research, marketing analytics, and marketing research methodologies. I thank our HOD ma'am for giving me the opportunity. Welcome, sir. I hand over the session to you, sir. Please go ahead, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for the introduction, and I would also like to thank Dr. Vijay Shanti ma'am for inviting me for this session. If anybody could confirm that I'm properly audible.
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So before getting into the actual session, though this is one kind of a session that I do almost on an every alternate day with some of the other FDP or workshop or conference, maybe within the college and outside the university with many other universities. So this has been a routine for us, talking online like this, which most of the times is disheartening that we see a lot of people getting not engaged with the context or the topic. So that was my introduction that is available on web. But I would just like to very briefly tell you what exactly I do presently with Voxen University here. Currently, I'm heading the the R&D division at Voxen University. The university is one of the youngest, and we are more technology oriented. We are more looking into technology. So the vision is that we are trying to we are trying to improve the overall research output of the university in various aspects. One of the aspects would be certainly paper publications, research work, or research paper publications. Basically, we are basically four schools at Voxen University. One is technology, the other one is design, then architecture, and of course the business school. In four of these different streams, my objective is to see that the research output comes in numbers quite substantially and significantly year on year. And this number is not just in terms of research papers, but the numbers should be mostly in terms of patents, in terms of design patents, product patents, and then we are looking in terms of books, book chapters being published. We are looking at awards, competitions, and various government, non-government grants, projects, fundings. Is the overall the output that I have to look into in this whole context of the last 2 years, where I have been heading research and development. I on a continuous basis every day interact with a lot of students and faculty on a very regular basis, maybe every day. The agenda is that students here, for that matter, everywhere in any university or any institute, has a lot of potential and come up with some very brilliant ideas. Most of our design and architecture students come up with some very brilliant designs and product designs, products, etc. And our objective is to see that how do you convert it into a substantial output? How do you get recognition for it? So we sit with the students, take up their ideas, work on it, and then try to convert into a prototype or any kind of an idea, and put that across into patents. Now that we have just started the patenting system 6 months back, and we already have 8 patents filed and 1 granted, and out of which almost 4 of the patents are by the students. So one aspect that we drive at Voxen is that we take each and every small idea of the faculty, student, and try to convert either into a form of a paper or in the form of a patent. So that's one of the basic philosophy of the culture that we talk about. So though, why am I talking all this is that when you introduce me, it would more look like, I am more, management oriented. Maybe I'm into business analytics and etc. So this is organized by the Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering, and I see most of the students and faculty are from the triple E background. So to set the context, I would just try to emphasize that though my personal basic research is into data analytics, and then in management and then in marketing, but last 2 years where I've been heading research at the Vauxhall, I've been talking to faculty from the engineering stream, the technology, the robotics, artificial intelligence, and etc. I've been learning a lot and trying to understand what kind of different approach that these electrical department or the civil engineering or the mechanical or the computer science, for that matter, the architecture or the design, arts and design, or the management, all of this, the approach towards the research is might be different or might look different, but fundamentally and very generically, the basic genre of doing the research is for the basics and the fundamentals is all the same. Okay, so I would talk something in that particular lines. Key, how do you look into how do you have to think about writing a particular paper? What are the do's and don'ts? What are the problems that you come across? And just before, when I've been invited to this session by Dr. Vijay Shanti, then I was looking at the different research works, publications that have been done by CMR, and it is quite exemplary, and then quite a number of papers that you have published in last 5 years. Numbers are very huge, but I was going across the kind of quality of the research also, or the publications that have happened, in what kind of journals you are constantly putting your in your research work. And randomly I went on to look into read some of your faculty's research works, and then where they have published, what kind of outlets they have selected to publish their papers. Then I profusely put across this point is that some of the works which are brilliant, some of the papers I went through, I read, are brilliant, but they don't deserve the outlet that it has been published. They deserve much more better journal or an outlet to be published. So the selection of the journal, the confidence at which you select a journal, send it across and crack that to the final publication is the whole funda and the art of doing it. So in last 7 years now, I have tried cracking that particular art of publishing the right work in the right place by maybe collaborating with some of the top authors, maybe by reviewing some of the top papers, and maybe by associating myself as a reviewer, editor with some of the top journals. If you could just go across my LinkedIn profile or my Google Scholars profile, if you could look at the kind of work I have done, that would talk about. I'm just trying to set a context here, saying that the whole funda is that we have our capabilities. We are very competitive. We have whole synergies, and we have all our efforts right going into our research. But the way we put that across to write that, select a journal, send it there. When you get a review, how do you have to write a review, and make the editor and the reviewer understand your work is good, and then get it published is very common for all the fields, all the kind of paper publications, irrespective of what department we belong to. Maybe we are arts, design, we are into technology, architecture, no matter what, the basic protocol, the basic problems, pros and cons of putting a right work into a right journal is always the same, irrespective of what department we go into. So having said this context that, I would be more generic, not maybe very specific to some technical or scientific related papers as what most EEE fraternity or faculty does. I would be more generic in my approach to discuss today what exactly are the do's and don'ts of a paper writing, and what are the I may not be much in touch on the research methodologies, but I would more focus on the generic issues related to paper writing. So before I get across to the discussion and my PPT, of course, I do this almost every alternate day, so there is always a PPT available to talk about. But I would request Dr. Shanti Aru to unshare their screen, and then so that I can share my screen. Okay, so I have to share my screen here.
Yes, sir, now you can share.
Yep. Thank you so much. This is the basic PPT that I would like to go across. There's some 30-35 slides. If I take upon 3 minutes for each slide, also it would go up to 90 minutes, and we could just complete that. But the agenda is not that. The agenda is to have a discussion and engage. So if I could ask in the very beginning of this session, if any one of you have any specific questions or a point to make to start the discussion, or a topic to be started alongside this PPT, I would be very happy to take that in a discussion format, and then have a lot of interaction, because I see a lot of faculty available here. I myself a faculty for last 17 years, so we're all of the same the group. So I think it's more than I talk. If we have a discussion kind of a thing, maybe that would be more specific, more clear, and more prompt and proper use of time that we have this 1 hour 15 minutes, whatever it might be. So if you have anybody have any specific questions that you are looking at, I might be very generic, but if you are looking at anything very specific, if you could come across that, then we would move the discussion alongside. Anyone, any questions, any specific topic that you would like to focus on? So I think the answer is no. There are 40 participants, and then I know this is a common phenomenon that happens all across. I'm guiding 6 scholars now, and then I work with almost 10 of my co-authors on various projects. Now, what is the very first question that we ask when we start a work or a research work? What is the fundamental question that we ask to ourselves, or we discuss? Is anyone any clue that what should be the first question that somebody should ask to themselves or to their peer when we start a paper? Anyone, if anybody is still awake and then listening to the session, what is the first question, or what is the question that I put across to any of my scholars or students when they come up with some particular idea, title, paper, topic, whatever it might be? Okay. So I know the answer is again.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, one of the student has asked a question, sir.
Okay, it's in the chat box. Okay.
Yeah,
What will be
yes, sir,
the
it's in
course
chat box.
outcomes of this project? Okay. Okay, you are looking at the outcome. Okay. Yeah. Anybody else? Okay, you looking at the outcome. Okay. Any other question? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Sir, I think first question is what is the main domain of your paper or project?
Okay. Okay, so somebody says my domain is let's say electrical engineering. My domain is some the cathode ray tubes. I may be very naive on this, but I'm just trying to connect. So you talk about the domain, right? Okay. My fundamental question all the time, going to was here and there, very fundamental question that I ask is, what is the question? What is your research question? That is the only one question, the worst preliminary question I ask, or anybody should ask for that matter. What is the research question that we are trying to answer? Now, all the time, people, when I talk about this, though it is there in the literature and all, they say that, do we really have a question when we are doing a research? Are we really answering a question, or we are trying to find something new? Okay. Now, it is for me all the time is a question. Now, what is the question that you are trying to answer? The question might be, are students satisfied with my class? It's a simple question. You need to find an answer to that. Okay. Do X and mixing an X to Y, does it bring Z or not? Okay, that's a question again. If you multiply X with Y, what happens? Okay, that's a question. But always we start with a question, but the point is that every question looks to be interesting. Every question is from the person who has come up with that particular topic or that particular question. For him, it is always very new. For him, it is always very good. For him, it is always very interesting. For a person who has come up with that question, for him, it is always very, that question is very new. But somebody like me, somebody like you as a professor or a faculty and etc., when you listen to that particular question, you might have a different opinion. The opinion might be, oh, this question, I already heard it. I also know the answer. Then what is that you are doing new? Then he says to you, then, no, this question is not answered. There is no answer for this question yet. You say that, oh, is that so? Just give me a minute and you go to your, the literature survey. You find that particular paper which talks about that particular question, and you put that across to him, say that, see, this is the paper which is talking about your question. And here is the answer. That is answered. What is there big about it? Now, for every journal publication, I have published in, an SCI journal and an SCI index journal, an ABDC. I have almost, 10 plus Scopus index publications. I have a book on my name. So as an editor for almost 5 top-notch journals, what I look into is that when I read an abstract, in the whole abstract, I would just like to find out what is the question that the paper is trying to answer. That is the only fundamental thing that I look in on. Based on that, my decision of rejection and acceptance goes on. Just by figuring out a question in a abstract, or maybe in the introduction section of a particular paper, when you don't explicitly write that question, the question is, does incentive system increase the motivation of employees to perform? Somebody may not write the question so explicitly in their paper, but reading the abstract, I may find it out. And when I find that question, if I don't feel that interesting, if I feel that the answer is already there, if I feel that this question is, not going to be a part of my journal, or it is not suiting to my journal objectives, I simply reject that. That is a basic first rejection criteria of the paper anywhere in any journal, irrespective of a scientific paper, a conceptual paper, an empirical paper, or a computer related paper, an algorithm related paper, and etc. It is all the time, first, foremost, all the time is the research question. Is the question interesting? Is the question unanswered before? Is the question worth reading, or the solution to the question is worth reading? Okay, is the question meaningful? Is the question relevant for the contemporary domain, or the context, or the environment? These are the interesting things that make a paper readable by a editor or a reviewer or a reader. My first submission is that the question for any paper is the most important criteria to get accepted or rejected. Please get it from me this day. This is the bottom line. Now, the whole context of what do you call publication is, you have a question first, you have some blah blah in between, something called as methodology, discussion, or whatever you might call it as, and at the end you have the answer for that particular question, right? A question and an answer, in between some other thing, done. That makes a paper. Now, what makes a good research? Okay, what is a good research contribution? Okay, what is a research which is said as, this can go into SCI, this can go into Scopus, this can go into A-star, this can be of so and so. How do you measure the quality of a particular paper? Okay, how do you say that, oh, my paper is the best, it can go into SCI 7+ impact factor? Now, how do you decide upon that? What are the hints? What are the points that would decide that, this is a very vital and a significant contribution, so it can go into so and so journal? How do we assess it? How do we measure it? Any idea? Any clue? Any idea? Any clue? Let's have a discussion kind of a thing. Anybody who's one-to-one would like to talk to me about this, and I would be really happy. Rather than, I just giving this as a gnan. Most of you would know some of these points. Okay, so this taxonomy looks maybe very, very complex. Maybe for some of you, it might be very easier to understand. But it is very simple. Okay, any theoretical, any conceptual, any technical, any scientific, any kind of paper works or research works, how do you measure their contribution? How do you say they're very, they're great, they're good, or they're average, or they're worst? The very fundamental taxonomy that we generally follow in order to see whether this paper is good or not is this taxonomy that I see. If you can see, the gray one is called as is the low contribution, and the white one that you see has the higher contribution. Now, what are the works which fall under the white part of the graph is that if you could see, there are two things. One is testing the existing theory. We have a fundamental theory in electronics or electrical or in mechanical, etc. If you take a fundamental theory and trying to test it in a different context, or in a different setup, or in a different environment, or just by tweaking one of the variables, etc., you're doing that. That is testing the existing theory. Okay, on one hand. On the other hand, we are talking about developing a whole new theory. Okay, so these are the two main components which talk about, whether a particular paper is doing significant contribution to my journal or not. As an editor, I would look into that. Now, if you're talking about very simple, theory, a very well-known theory, been proved hundreds of times in different timings, different setup,